Welcome to the Seriously podcast. I'm your host, Ashleigh. Now let's get into it. Welcome to the Seriously podcast, where we make light of serious conversations with really interesting people. Ashleigh Jade is one of the most well-known influencers in Western Australia. After 9 years of working as a casino host, Ash was made redundant, where she went into full-time influencing, where she now shares her life with over 1.3 million followers on Facebook and 114,000 followers on Instagram. In 2023, Ash also decided to start her own business, How Creative Media, with her husband Alex, where they use their creativity to create beautiful images and videos for their many clients. She's also a self-confessed Swiftie and shares her Taylor Swift content to a global audience who share the same passion. There was lots of layers in this convo, so I hope you like listening to it. So here she is, the beautiful and dynamic Ashleigh Jade. Ashleigh Jade, welcome to Seriously.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy that we could finally tee this up and that it's happening.
I'm so happy that you're here. I'm very excited to interview you today. You've been on my hit list and a lot of people have asked for you to be on.
They have?
Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
Don't act surprised.
Oh, I am. That's so lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, no, whenever I put my feelers out, I ask, who do you guys want on? And a few people said Ashleigh Jade.
And you have asked me many times and we're like, yes, we'll get it done, but I've just had every weekend booked out, so I'm glad that finally January's a nice quiet month, so we could make it happen.
It is in the influencer world.
It is.
We both know that.
Mm-hmm.
And you are a full-time influencer. You have over 1.3 million followers on Facebook, and then you have over 114,000 on Instagram. How did this all start for you? That's amazing.
Thank you. When Facebook pages first started, I saw it as an opportunity and I really loved social media. I loved seeing how things would grow. I always enjoyed testing things out. And so I was doing modelling and pageants at the time, and I had a few friends that weren't so supportive of that, and I thought if I make a page, I can keep the posts separate and then they don't have to see it. They don't have to subscribe and like and all of that, and whoever does want to see it can like the page. And so I did that, and I posted to that Facebook page every single day, multiple times a day. And over years, it just started growing really fast, really rapidly. And it was one time when we were overseas I think we were in London, and all of a sudden my followers started jumping up like tens of thousands in a day. So I put up a post asking, I love this, but where are you all coming from? And turned out that at the time, Facebook had under the status bar was suggested pages, and being Ashleigh Jade, it just put it right underneath the first letter. And so it just got pushed out to everybody around the world, and it grew tens of thousands rapidly. And before I knew it, I'd hit 1 million followers, but it also came with the downfall of being really overwhelmed to put myself in front of such a large audience like that, because I no longer recognized the names that were commenting on the post. And I really enjoyed that, when I had a nice humble 15, 20,000, I could be like, oh, Joe Blob, it's commented, and Sarah's my biggest supporter, and I didn't recognize that anymore. So it kind of took the fun out of it and didn't feel that sense of community on Facebook anymore. And at the time, once it reached that million, Instagram then started. And so what I did was the same thing with Facebook. I just jumped over to Instagram. I cross-promoted, and a lot of those people came over to Instagram. And I mean, it's taken a long time to get to that number, and there was a time there where it just kind of stopped growing over a period of time, and you kind of feel like, oh, I'm slogging it a bit. The brand's like, when are the pages going to grow? And it's just and there's only so much you can do. But it's only been recently that my page has kind of revived itself and has started growing again, but we can get into that shortly.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you.
And I want to ask, what were you doing before influencing?
I was working full-time as a promotional casino host.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was in the corporate world. I started off as a host and then over the years worked up into a promotional casino host. So it's kind of like a game show host where you do the prize draws, the giveaways, emceeing the events on the casino floor. And it was so fun. It allowed me to learn, how to talk on a microphone and present myself to an audience and be confident at public speaking. And that was something I was so afraid to do. But I've always been the type that if something scares me, I kind of also want to put myself in the position to do it and just be like, yeah, I did that. How cool. And so, yeah, I was there for 8.88 years. That's the amount of time that my payslip said, my final payslip that I received. But after the pandemic, when we all returned to work, I got pulled into the office and was given some options of, here's some jobs that you can do, otherwise we don't know what to do with you. And that was a really confusing time because, you know, I was doing that full time and also like the influencer stuff on top of that. And that work was shift work, like at the casino it was shift work. And so when that day happened, it's kind of like a relationship breakup. You go through the emotions of anger and grief and confusion, and then finally, eventually there's acceptance. And I know that the stars aligned and everything was meant to be what it was. But yeah, we weren't exactly offered the redundancy to begin with. We had to go back and see like, well, you know, if we don't have a position here, we can't do our position, then the only thing really we can do is accept a redundancy. So that's what we did. And that's confusing as well because you kind of feel like, oh, I had a purpose and now I don't have a routine and I miss the people that I work with and I don't get to see, you know, those patrons that come in every day and you know them, you know what goes on in their life and I think about them still all the time and I do really miss them still as well. But that was the hardest part was the people, and that really led me down to quite a dark path later on after a couple of years. So I think it's been 4 years now, I think. Yeah, 4 years because we're 2024 or 3.5. And so it got to a point where, you know, I felt really lonely and it really impacted my mental health and I just kind of spiraled a little bit.
Yeah, you've been very open about your mental health and, you know, the periods of depression that you've had and anxiety where, you know, you admitted to social media you haven't been at your best.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about that and how you're doing now?
Yeah, so if we rewind to, where are we? So we're 2024. So 2022, it was starting off to be a great year. We just found out that we got accepted to buy a house and I was like, we did that on like being sole traders.
That's amazing.
Like, you know, and that was a huge achievement for us. And when your career is online, it was really hard to show up online and it's like show that you're doing well, or even though I was really struggling. And it's like, how can I show up and still do my paid partnerships that I'm meant to do? I know that I had to do these paid partnerships and showing up and pretending that everything was okay when it wasn't, but also showing that my life wasn't okay. It's like, I just felt really conflicted with showing up online, but also I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll go and get a job in the real world. But the thought of getting up out of bed every day and learning new skills, I couldn't even get out of bed every day. There were times when I couldn't. And I was just like, I can't be around people. People reached out to me and they were trying to help me, but I just pushed everybody away and would not allow anyone to help me. So yeah, it was just a really confusing, conflicting time. And I still was very open with struggling about that. But you don't want to be constantly showing up on social media and be like, today is another shit day. Today is another bad day. I can't get out of bed today. Like, I don't want to keep putting that onto people, you know? Like, people have their own shit that's going on. And I know, and then it's like, it's almost performative if you show it too much because then it's pushing that, I'm just trying to be real and authentic. And it's like that in itself is not authentic because by you feeling like you need to tell people, like, and so I don't know, it reached a point where I had messaged my manager at Blue Chip Talent and said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. Like,
really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So you nearly quit altogether?
Everything. I didn't want to be here. Like
Oh, darling, that's really hard.
So he suggested that I book a flight and I go and stay with him and his partner, his wife, over east on the Gold Coast. And that 7 weeks away, just changing my environment was the start of just a reset. Like I could hear birds singing, and I could hear like the wind in the trees, and it sounds so lame, but I could just notice the little things again. And it took that completely removing myself to then start a path of, okay, like things will get okay, like they will get better. And so before I left, I was like, right, what can I do next? I need to, I know that I thrive when I try new things, and even if it does make me uncomfortable, like I love putting myself out of my comfort zone, So I signed up for twerk classes, and I was like, what?
Love it.
It was so
Alex
fun.
would have been very happy.
He's like, show me what you did. And he's like, oh God. And and then signed up to the SAS movement, which is about women empowerment, and it's like sexy dancing and getting in touch with your feminine side. And I did like 4 rounds of that, I'm pretty sure. And just that part of being social and reconnecting with myself, and because I was speaking horribly about myself. I think words are spells, and how we talk to ourselves can really damage and impact our mental health severely, and it rolls on to everything in life. And so now I'm so much more aware of how I speak about myself. But at the time, I just was like, hate myself, hid in trackies and hoodies, and just didn't want to be seen, and kind of hid away for a little bit.
And as you said, like being an influencer, it's really hard to constantly show up, especially when you're having times of, feeling down. But how are you now? Like in 2024, how's Ashleigh Jade doing mentally?
She's doing great.
Yeah, you seem great.
Thank you. And it has taken a lot to get here. I did a lot of inner work over the last 2 years to get to this point. And
like therapy?
Therapy. I work with an energy healer as well.
Yeah.
And I find that approach is really helpful for me, because it may be a little bit woo-woo for some, but just I think it gives more empathy and understanding. I don't know. So that really helped. And just, being around people again and saying yes to things, because I just would shut down every opportunity, be like, no, like.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward to now. A few years ago, you started your company.
Yes.
How Creative Media.
Last year. It was coming up to a year.
Really?
Yeah.
You've done so much in such a short period of time.
Thank
it's incredible. Congratulations, firstly.
Thank you.
Your husband actually shot the pod cover.
He did. Fancy.
Yeah.
He looks so gorgeous. And this shot was the last photo that we were trying for. And I just had this vision, and I was like, just sit on the chair, hold the phone, like, yep, like who's next kind of vibe. And I saw it, and I was like, it was kind of, posing in jeans is a hard act, Annalise.
And it was 40 degrees.
It was so hot.
Yeah.
And you just were such a pro, and we got the shot. It looks amazing, and you look phenomenal, and I just, love it.
Thank you for that. You guys are extremely talented.
Oh, thank you.
So can you talk to me a bit about your business, and like how did that come to be? Because that's a big move to go from like redundancy, influencing, own business.
Yes.
Amazing.
So to be honest, and I haven't spoken about some parts of this, but in 2022, it was the year that was shit. And so I was like, not kind of wrapping up a lot of the partnerships that I was doing. And because I wasn't putting myself out there as much, it was impacting my socials, and people probably weren't really wanting to work with me. And I totally understand that, because if my page isn't growing, or if it's a bit stagnant, like it is what it is. That's how the social media world is. It's cutthroat. And I get that. But also I was like, I don't want to show up all the time, and I don't want to, open up some wounds to show up and, get that engagement. Like it just didn't feel right to me. And so it was starting off in 2023. I was like, I have nothing lined up as of next month. My
like
partnerships
financially?
end. Yeah, they end.
Oh my God, that's scary.
And I'd not ever in my whole entire life been in that position. So I was like,
I had work.
Yeah. And so during that time, 2022, when it's really hard, I was helping my friend Jessie, whose studio we shot at.
Soul Tank Studio.
Yeah, Soul Tank Studio. And shout out. And she was one of the people that really stuck by me, and she was like, come on the photo shoots that I'm doing and just get like behind the scenes. You do it for me, so like come and just keep doing it for others as well. And that sparked the creativity in me again and started to get me excited to get out of bed. And I loved being alongside Jessie. We have very similar energies and we're just psychos when we're together.
You guys are so cute together.
I just love her so much. We're like two jumping jelly beans. Yeah. And so I would help her on her shoots, and then she was like, you could launch this as a service. And I was like, could I? Will people book? You have the whole conversation with yourself in your head and tell yourself all the reasons why it won't work and imposter syndrome. And then I was like, I don't know. So I sat on this idea of creating, behind the scenes content creation for events, weddings and photographers, photo shoots. Because as an influencer, what I realized, these brands put on these beautiful, extravagant events and they invite all the influencers and they're the ones creating the content, but also no one is on their page designated to posting in real time. And I would always get feedback saying, I love your stories, the way you do things. It's like really cool storytelling and the cuts and edits and da-da-da. So I was like, I would love to do that for brands. Like, just pass me a phone. I can do that in real time for you. And I had always had this idea, but I was like, no one will book that. And so with that in mind, with the partnerships ending, I was like, I need to jump on this now. Like, I need to create this. So I made the Instagram page. I didn't tell anyone about it for a month and a half. I was researching like crazy, and I had many sleepless nights and pages of notes of how I was going to do this. And so we decided on How Creative Media. So I am the content creator doing socials for events, weddings and photo shoots. And my husband is a photographer, and that's all he's ever done is photography.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I hate that he doesn't post on socials.
He doesn't. He's very good at replying though. He's a very quick replier. Yes.
Oh, that's good to know.
When I was booking him for this, he was like,
oh, that's good to know. Glad. Great feedback.
Good communicator.
And so I thought, if we have a page where I can share some of his work, because he works with really good clients. Like,
I know.
Fremantle Dockers and these amazing events. And I'm like, we need to show this off. But he doesn't care, He's just like, like it's cool.
He's very good at his job though.
He's very good. And he's
very
great
talented.
with people. He is great at working a crowd. Like, it's just, he can adapt to any situation. He's amazing. And so I was like, okay, let's launch this How Creative Media. And it was mainly me just doing the content creation. But now in the last few months, it's a lot of people are booking us together, and it's really fun. But so I launched in February last year, and it absolutely took off. Because I think, when we got married, I wish that on the day we had somebody who had iPhone content and was taking photos of me in my dress. And I think I've got one photo of Alex and I at the dinner table, like at the table of our wedding night with our empty plates in front of us. And that's my only iPhone photo. And it's just nice to, have the professional ones because they are beautiful and definitely needed, but also to have that content on your phone because, you just want to like swipe through and relive it. And and so I guess it's, the service that people didn't know they needed.
So you travel all up WA for it?
Yeah, I mean, I can travel anywhere because I have the flexibility to do so. I work for myself. And
that's incredible.
Yeah, and so...
Your content is so good, by the way.
Thank you.
I love looking at it, and I love seeing people's weddings from an iPhone perspective.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So it's that documentation style and so seeing it from... as if it were a reality show.
But it seems like it.
Yeah, it's really, really fun and just being in the background and capturing those little moments that, because the day goes by so fast and a lot of the time you can't remember what happens and there's just little things, that happen. And like I filmed a little butterfly on a ladybird on the end of a bride's dress and I was like, this is good luck. And she just loved that and was like, oh my gosh, that's beautiful. And so it's just like you're another set of eyes. And it allows me to be creative and still get that hit of editing and putting something out to the world and doing what I love still, but in a completely new way. And I guess it all has come about really organically.
Hey guys, if you've loved listening to the Seriously podcast, we'd really appreciate a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify podcasts. It keeps us making incredible content for all of you to hear. Thanks so much. How hard is it working with your husband but also being in a relationship? Like, what is that like?
Do you know what?
And how long have you been together?
Okay, so we've been together for 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when did you get married? How old were you?
6 years ago. So it was a week after my 30th birthday.
Okay.
Am I 35 or 36?
I don't know. I never know anyone's age.
I actually forget. I think I'm 34, 35.
Wow. So
I
you
need to
guys have been
check.
together for ages.
Yeah, long time.
Okay. So to you, like, is that hard?
I mean,
Drawing the line with work, or are you just used to it?
I found it more difficult when we would do influencer stuff together because, you know, we both have our creative ideas and we want to both
Very
execute
different.
it. Yeah. And so that I found like we'd butt heads a little bit, but it was always really fun. Like we still enjoyed it. I mean, it's just couple things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with our creative media, nothing has really changed. And because we've always been together, we've always done everything together. Like all of my campaigns, Alex has helped me on. And so for us, it's not really like, oh, now we're business partners. We don't see it like that because our brains never switch off. We're always working together on everything that we do, whether it's, you know, an event that's coming up or whatever. And so I actually get really excited now when people book us together because we get to bounce off each other and he's taking photos and I'm doing video and we're not clashing and we're working together to, you know, get the right shot and we both give each other ideas and it's just actually really, really great. Like if anything, it's elevated the relationship.
That's a beautiful partnership.
Thank you.
How did you guys meet?
I don't know if I've shared this before.
You haven't. That's what I'm asking.
Oh, like I've shared it on my Instagram.
I love knowing
maybe.
people's love stories.
Yeah. So back in the day when I was doing comps and pageants and things, I recognised Alex from taking photos in the nightlife scene. You know, we go out every weekend.
So you met him because you knew he was a photographer?
Yeah, so he would take
God.
photos at... Did you ever go to Eurobar?
No. Where's that?
It was in Northbridge. It was
Okay,
like
cool.
the place to be in the Dean and stuff. And so he would be out doing nightclub photos and he worked with Crazy Sexy Cool, which was a promotional agency.
I know them, yep.
Yeah, so... I, at the time, had just moved to Forever New in Joondalup. I just opened that store. And I saw him walk past every day, but I didn't know if it was him. And I always got confused with this guy that worked at Vodafone. I was like, no, I think it's Vodafone guy. And I was like, oh, no, maybe it is Alex. Maybe I should just reach out. And because what I would do, because I didn't know anyone at that shopping centre, I would have my lunch in my car. And I just go sit in my car because I had no friends at the shopping centre. And so one day he walked past and he had a jumper on with his name on it. Had Alex on it. He had his brand on there.
Oh, I
so
love
I was
that.
like, well, it bloody is him. So I don't know. I'm sometimes shy, but sometimes something comes over me where I just put myself out there. And
I wouldn't consider you shy at all.
sometimes
You're like,
I'm
I'm
like,
very introverted.
if I've got to make a phone call, I'm like, I just freeze and freak out.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
Millennial things.
Yes.
And I went outside of the shop and I waved him down and was like, hey, come here. And
It's
gestured.
me.
Yeah, it's me. Hi. And gestured for him to come over. And he kind of looked at me like, who is this freak?
He's
And
like,
he-
she's very hot though. He's like, I'm fine.
But he like hesitated over slightly and kind of looked a bit, you know, like, oh, hi. And I was like, hi, I'm Ashie. I do comps with Crazy Sexy Cool and I recognize you from taking photos at Eurobar and stuff. And like, do you work around here? And at the time he was doing graphic design at a newspaper, a real estate newspaper around the corner. And every day he would come to the Joondalup shopping centre to have his lunch.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, look, I'm not hitting on you. I just don't have any lunch buddy friends. So do you want to be lunch buddies?
Are you serious?
Yeah. And he was like, yeah, okay. I was like, okay, well, get your phone out. My number is da-da-da-da. And just message me when you're going to have your lunch tomorrow and then we can have lunch. And so it turned
So straight to the point.
I am. But I've actually done this with friends in the past. Like back when I worked at Boost Juice, there was a girl that would come past and she was working at Forever New and it just opened in Australia, Perth. And I just loved her vibe and her energy. And I was like, hey, like, are you at this new shop? Do you want to be friends? And I ended up working there. So I went from like Morley to Joondalup. Anyway, sidetrack. So turned out, once getting to know Alex, that we had both been broken up with around the same time and our grieving stages were at the same stage.
Oh, stop it.
So we were kind of at that part where like open to seeing people. He, was seeing people. I was like kind of not really. I hated dating. It was weird. Like just was not for me. Until someone was like, Alex comes in here on his days off now. He makes the trek out here and has lunch with you on weekends. And then he waits for you after work and then you guys all go out together. I was like, yeah, that's because we all go out together in a group. And I'm so naive. And when something is right in front of you, but you just don't see it until like someone notices and then it opens your eyes and then you connect with it just kind of developed. And I was like, everything that I kind of want is in Alex. I put out there that the next person I want to be my friend first. I want them to be kind of the opposite of what I would normally go for, and be a really nice person and hype me up and not make me feel insecure about myself. And he was all of those things. And it just came and progressively grew into a relationship.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, you guys are so cute. I always see you guys together at events.
Yeah, he loves coming along. And that's the thing, I'm sure if he was here, he would tell you that, a lot of people would say, oh, you got dragged here. And he's like, no, I chose to be here. And I think that people would make a lot of assumptions. He actually was going to come today, but he had a job to go to. So, there is that misconception that he gets dragged to things or he actually doesn't want to be there. But first thing he does is block out the calendar and he is nothing but 100% supportive of everything I do and has been there through every single uphill and downfall. Like he's amazing.
Being a business person, you can't drag a business person to stuff. Like they want to go or they don't. They draw a line.
He doesn't want to miss out either.
100%. People assume that about every influencer's partner.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, oh, do you want to? And otherwise he wouldn't be here.
Or maybe it's just like people don't actually know what to say. So they're like, oh, you got dragged here too. And it's
no, they because we want to be there. It's really fun going to events, guys.
It is.
So a lot of people probably know you from social media, obviously, but a big part of your social media recently has been your Taylor Swift content.
Yeah, it's a bit out of control, isn't it? Sorry about that, guys.
I am so fascinated by this. So where did the passion for Taylor Swift come from? Has it always been a thing?
It's always been a thing, but it's gotten progressively hectic, intense over the last couple of years. And
why is that?
Because it's the way that she writes her lyrics. She articulates things in a way where it could be written about herself, but you could also have pinpoint a part of your life where that has also happened to you. So you don't listen to it and think, oh, Taylor Swift went through that. I went through that too. You can interpret it in your own way. And whether it's, the start of new friendships or beginning of new relationships or hard times through your life or exciting times and celebrations, she literally has a song for everything. And it's like as every era has come out, or, every album that's come out, I've been able to connect with it in some way. And I think when the Red album came out is when I really started enjoying. I'm going to be honest, I'm not a country galley, I'm not a fan. But when she started going into the Red and then it was 1989, that really cemented it for me. But when Reputation came out, that has done something to my chemical balance.
Oh, that's amazing. So what would you say your favourite album is? Do you have one?
My favourite album is Reputation, and when Reputation Taylor's version comes out, I am going to be feral and y'all better watch out because you think my social media is intense now. It's only going to get worse, and especially with the concert being next month, it's going to be feral.
In Melbourne, right?
I'm going to Sydney. So there's Melbourne and Sydney.
Yeah.
And when she came to Perth for the Reputation Stadium tour a couple of years ago. That was 2018. And Taylor Nation, which are her people, they actually reached out to me and sent me this big PR package. And it was this massive box. And when you opened it up, it played this TV screen and was like, welcome to the Taylor Swift Stadium tour or something.
Oh,
and you're invited VIP. And there was like all this merch and stuff inside it. And it was amazing. I died right there on the spot. And just to know that Taylor Nation, so these are her people that scout Swifties online and they watch everything that we do and the tags and everything.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you get invited to something by Taylor Nation, it's a massive deal. So to get noticed by them is huge. And this is something that I've kind of briefly touched on a couple of times but haven't gone into explanation. But on the night of the concert, I was given an envelope, and inside the envelope were 2 wristbands, and there was also a map. And I've never really been great at following instructions, and this is a story that when I revisit it, it makes me feel physically ill. And you know those moments where you think back on it and it keeps you up at night, like
Oh, yeah.
this is that for me. And so I go inside of the Optus Stadium and I'm asking the staff, like, what is this wristband for? And they're like, I don't know. No one knew because, you know, these are just, they're the casuals that come in and do the shift and then they go home. They don't care. They're just telling you where to go to your seat. And I'm like, this wristband must mean something. And Alex hadn't yet arrived. He's great at following instructions. He's great at investigating things, but he wasn't there yet. And then I go to my seat. It wasn't until the next day that I was just like, something was yelling at me inside. My intuitive feeling was like, you need to relook at that again. And so I went on Twitter because, you know, there was no TikTok at the time. You couldn't really search things and not all that knowledge was out there. Turns out it was the Olivia wristband, and it meant that I was meant to go to the tent where her mum sits, Mama Swift, right by the stage. So I had my seat, but I could have gone and sat with Mama Swift and, you know, could have possibly met Taylor Swift. I don't know. She has the reputation room, like the rep room that people get invited to go into. So I think at the time, I don't know if she actually had that in Perth, but knowing that I didn't check properly and I didn't just be like, right, let's just walk around because I'd never been to a concert before. So I didn't know what you meant to do. I thought that you had to stay in your seat. If you got up, you'd get in trouble. And I just wanted to do the right thing. So I was just like, I just gave up. And I didn't really tell Alex about it. It's like, I don't know what this other wristband is. I don't know what it is. So that's just one of the things that haunts me to this day.
But you know what? If you had gone to that tent, maybe your content wouldn't have been so... you know, Taylor Swift focused now. And maybe you wouldn't have
maybe
grown your account. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in hindsight, it does suck, but maybe your content now will get you so much more notice.
Yeah, and the reason for the increase in Taylor Swift content, yes. I think I should touch on that, is when I launched How Creative Media, that has now become my full-time income. And so I've really taken a step back from taking on partnerships. Like I maybe do 1 or 2 every 2 months, 3 months. And so, and that's because, you know, like I've done it for so long and I'm really loving creating content for other people. And so I wanted to lean into something that brings me joy. And that is investigating the Easter eggs that Taylor Swift puts out and putting our heads together and getting a bit delulu and putting our clown masks on and figuring things out and just posting about it has then, not that this means anything, but, you know, like the numbers have increased and I'm reaching more people and having really fun conversations and my page is growing again. And like it is kind of motivating in a way because it means that I'm reaching the right people that I want to connect with and have those really fun conversations with. And maybe I'll get noticed by a Taylor Nation again. Who knows?
100%. So you haven't met her yet, but obviously that would be your dream.
I see. The thing is, and everyone asks, what would you do? I think I would freeze. I don't know. I would just... I'm even thinking about it now, I'm stumbling for words and I just think the words would come out would be, I love you and thank you for getting me through some of the darkest times and also some of the greatest. And and I think that's all I'd manage to get out.
Yeah. It would be very overwhelming. She's the biggest superstar in the world.
She is. And there's no denying that, you know, she's absolutely dominating everything. I mean, you turn on the news and there's bound to be somebody that is reporting on her. I mean, they now have in the US a designated Taylor Swift reporter, Brian West, who started following me and we talk like every day now.
Oh, that's amazing.
I know. And we're going to try and meet up over East.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Wow. So a lot of people also say that you look like her. Do you see the resemblance?
Sometimes I can see, you know, when I went to the stadium tour for Reputation, I did dress like her. And I had little girls turning around and pulling on their mums going, Mum, Taylor. And it's quite cute.
Really?
It's very cute. But, I'm not one to be like, oh, yeah, I think I'm like Taylor Swift. But when she was here for the Rep Stadium tour, there was a patron at the casino who was a regular. And she came up to me at the main stage and there was a prize draw happening that night. And so that's why she come up and was like, Ashleigh, the most embarrassing thing just happened to me. I'm so embarrassed. And I was like, okay, yeah, what happened? And she's like, oh my God. So I'm walking downstairs, coming out of the gym, and down that side of the complex there's like a fancy gym and there's some walkways and pathways that maybe the public wouldn't really know about. Mm-hmm. Taylor Swift was staying at the Mansions. And she happened to be walking in front of this lady and with her bodyguards and stuff, who this patron just thought were security guards, and she thought that Taylor Swift was me. Because at the time, I was in full glam. I had really blonde hair like her. Oh. I would wear heels, and so our outfits, I would wear sparkles as well, so because that was my uniform. And so I guess from behind you might think, oh yeah, and so this patron's yelling out, Ashy, and she's like, Ashy, turn around. And so then the late Taylor Swift turns around and she was like, oh, and the security guard said, ma'am, that's not Ashy, that's Taylor Swift. And she was like, who the fuck is Taylor Swift?
Oh my God.
And so she came and told me, she's like, I'm so embarrassed, that's so embarrassing. And I was like, wait, you're telling me that you thought Taylor Swift was me and you said my name? Taylor Swift knows my name? And she was like, well, now she does, because I just made a fool of myself. And she turned around and she swung and looked at me with her big cat eyes and her big ass shoes. And I was like,
biggest compliment ever.
It was so funny. So yeah, that's a pretty cool experience to know that happened. And I asked security if I could go and look at the footage, and they said no.
Oh, damn
I was like, come on, let me see. And I was like,
iconic.
I just need to see this. And they're like, no one's allowed in the room. I was like, rude.
Well, I love that so much. Thanks for being so honest about all your experiences. I want to ask, obviously you've done so much. You're so successful, and 2024 seems very big for you and your company and everything that you're doing. But what are your plans for 2024? Do you have anything coming up or that you can share, or what's next for you as a brand?
Well, right now I'm hyper focused on making my Taylor Swift outfits for the concert that are happening next month.
Yes.
So my brain has blocked out January and February, and that's all I can think about right now. So that's that. For the next 2 months, that's what's happening in my head. And then after that, I'm like, okay, then we can focus on all the other things. But also between that, I also have weddings that are booked in. It's peak wedding season right now.
Yes.
And event season. So I do have quite a few that are booked in over the next few months. And so, yeah, How Creative is just continuing to grow, and we're doing International Women's Day. I feel like I'm really attracting some really amazing clients and, my ideal clients. And I think, by putting yourself out there and being yourself online, whether it's your silly side and letting that show, and people will book you for you. And I've said to people, if I can't do a date, or can I find someone else for you? And they said, no, I only want you. And which is a really nice thing. It's like, oh, okay, thank you. And it's really humbling. But so How Creative Media, we've got a lot of bookings this year, and I guess those dates will just keep filling up. And I haven't yet even had a chance to launch a website because I've been so busy doing everyone else's content for that. So that'll be things. So things like in the business, there's a few things that I need to fix up and work on in the business. And I just want to continue growing it. And, the reason we chose media on the end is because we want it to evolve into other things, because Alex is also a graphic designer, and who knows, maybe we'll start a podcast one day. Who knows?
That would be cool.
We'll probably just be Taylor Swift related, let's be honest.
that would do very well.
Maybe. Watch this space. Might have to ask you a few things, tips.
Of course. What about personally? Can I ask, do you guys want kids?
No.
Okay, cool.
I actually haven't had someone ask me that on a podcast.
I just wanted to know.
Yeah, no.
I'm very nosy.
We have decided to not have kids, and I don't know, I'm totally happy to talk to you about it, because then maybe people stop asking me. But I just, it's not for us, and we're very selfish for each other, and
I love that.
we love our life and the things that we get to do, and we love our dog Honey, and
Honey's like your baby.
Yeah, and I love my friends' kids and I love my niece, but I also love that I don't have to be around them 24/7.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm sure, but also if it happened, we would be so happy and we would totally embrace it. But for the time being, we've decided on no.
Can I ask how old you guys are?
So hang on, 30. So I'm 35.
Yeah.
And Alex is 38, 39.
Yeah.
He's 4 years older.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to know. I'm very pervy with personal questions.
It's totally fine. I'm happy to go there.
Yeah. Awesome. Ash, you've been an amazing guest.
Thank you.
If anyone wants to follow you, wants to look you up, where can they find you?
You can find me at It's Ashleigh Jade, and I'm sure it'll be in your show notes. So just go to the show notes and tap on the links. It's easier. And also How Creative Media. So How is actually split from our last name Howell.
I love that.
Got to
That's
mention
why.
that. Yeah. So
love
it's like,
that.
how creative, because we're both creatives.
I love that.
Yeah. So How Creative Media on Instagram, TikTok, all the things.
Congrats. You've done so well.
Thank
and thank you
you
so much for finally coming on.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. It's been a blast.
Thanks, Ash. Thanks, guys, for tuning in this week. We'll catch you next week for another interview. Bye.